All right, we're going to begin with lesson one in our unquenchable love study series. Let's go to Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 1. Chapter 1, verse 1. Now, I want to just give very quick, succinct overview. What we're going to discover in the outline and structure of the book of Song of Solomon, it is a series of conversations and expressions between the two lovers, largely broken up between a female voice and a male voice. We'll see segments and sections where one voice is speaking while the other voice is quiet, listening, if you will. And so there's no real strict pattern. There's not really a beginning and an end here. I kind of use this as another metaphor to represent, the construct of love really doesn't have a beginning, should not have an end point, because it just continues. It's a kind of a constant, something that's always in motion, and that's kind of the way this book is written and presented. So we don't have to necessarily go, verse by verse or segment by segment. And in our presentation, we're going to, for the most part, coordinate our presentation in that way. But that's not really how it's written. It's to be digested in a manner to understand that it is really a living, organic conversation between two lovers. With that being said, we open the Song of Solomon opens with what I've called the opening song, and that opening song begins with the female voice, the first 7 verses. And so that's what we're going to focus our attention on here as we start lesson 1, the opening song. Song of Solomon, verse 1 and verse 2. The Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. This further affirms the authorship, King Solomon, the love child, the love child of the love interest between David and the unnamed daughter of Sheba. He is a descendant of the Ethiopians, a black man. So the Song of Solomon, the Song of Songs, which is Solomon's, verse 2 says, "Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for thy love is better than wine." We open with the first kiss. The first kiss has significance. The first kiss is an important symbol, and I know this is gonna be old school and perhaps archaic for many of our viewers because of the current styles and nuances that we live in right now. But I can only bring it and present it not only from its biblical perspective, but from the old school version in order to make the point about the significance of this kiss. The first kiss is a symbol of physical attraction between a man and woman. Note that, again, we are focused on the order of relationship as presented all the way back in the book of Genesis. The order of relationship was established by Adam and Eve. So we see that reflected here between a male and female. The first kiss between the man and woman is an important symbolic reference. The first kiss, it actually represents what both persons physically have in common. That physical encounter can determine the path forward in initiating a relationship. It's kind of the guiding symbol, especially from an old school point of reference. That first kiss is kind of a trigger to say, oh, okay, this person really does feel what I'm feeling, and vice versa. And also, it's a signal that, okay, there's something more to the friendship, more to the initial relationship. There's opportunity to explore this a little bit more, to see where this will take us. So that first kiss is a signal that, yes, there's something more. It does not automatically mean, hey, that we're going to end in matrimony, end in marriage, but it is definitely a signal that at least a path uh, towards something beyond just general friendship is possible. On the other side of that coin, when there is no first kiss, and I know that may sound like impossible in today's time, but when there is no first kiss, that is definitely significant as well, because it means, hey, this is going to stay in the friend zone. We're not trying to do nothing else, but I like hanging out with you, like talking to you, but you stay on your side of the conversation and I'll stay on mine. So that it's not going to move into anything further. So that first kiss is important. That first kiss can become a foundation to establish a courtship between two true lovers. The inaugural kiss between two true lovers is also something not only look forward to, but something that is memorable. It becomes a reference point. It is significant to note when that first kiss occurred, because it's a transition, as we have identified, that there's going to be something more that will be developed in the relationship. There's also something that's referenced in that second verse, that love is better than wine. Ooh, I love this. I love this. So the first kiss is already pointing towards an elevation in developing the relationship. But now she says, the female voice speaking, that love is better than wine. In that day, wine was a staple ingredient. It was not used just for entertainment or personal inebriation or satisfaction or escaping. It was used as a normal, natural part of the dietary intake for every person, every household. It was a common staple, similar to the placement of bread on the table. Wine was going to be on the table. It had medicinal values and provided for other needs, again, beyond intoxication. And so wine was an important part of daily life. So what the female voice is saying here is that when you find true love begins to alter your priorities. Watch this. True love begins to cause you to adjust things that were staples, things that were already established and coordinated in your life. Those of us who have experienced true love, you are a witness to the fact that things that you said, oh, I'll never change from doing this, I'm going to always do this a certain way. When you have discovered true love, the love interest that you have now causes you to alter whatever is required, because there is a greater priority. True love allows us to broaden our perspective, to see things differently, because now we are not limited to satisfying my own needs or my own ways, but love allows me to rearrange. It influences me even to rearrange my priorities. Without a doubt, when you are truly in love, you reevaluate what is important. Now you have added something that is worth replacing something else. And so that's what she is saying, that true love is better than wine. It replaces things that were the natural priorities, things that were the required daily routine staple. Now love has offset and begins to rearrange various segments of a person's life. not only are we going to continue to look at the Song of Solomon in the way that it addresses and helps us to understand and to learn more about our relationships that we have between men and women, those who are married, between husbands and wives, but we are also going to make sure that we take advantage of the opportunities to reflect on how these lessons compare to our relationship that we have with God. And here's that opportunity. When we truly are in love with God, we truly love God with all of our heart, with all of our mind, and with all of our strength, our love for God is also going to reorder, watch this, our priorities. Those things that we believe that we could never undo or change or modify, because we love him, we began to make those alterations, those modifications, because now we have introduced something greater, something more important, something that is better than what we already had in place. So that is the impact and the power that love commands in our life, in our relationships horizontally, I should say vertically with one another, and then on our relationships horizontally between us and God. It has a powerful impact to cause us, to even inspire us to make changes that we would otherwise never make. Also, something else I want to add to the conversation concerning the comparison to wine. Not only is love better than wine, but we also have to understand the what wine caused people to do, the commitment and the investment that was required to produce wine. There was the necessity for planting, for cultivating, and then for pressing the wine grapes to produce the wine. It was very time consuming. It was costly. It was intrusive, if you will. You needed this staple in everyday life, but it did not come conveniently. So it is with love as well. It is something that will not only reorder our priorities, but it will begin to take over and to replace where we invest our time, because love has to be planted. Love has to be cultivated. Love even has to be pressed out to produce the end results. It is time consuming, and it will take time and consume us. Watch this. Love is something that you don't just kind of work in part-time. Love is something that it requires our full time attention. In love and relationship, in love and marriage, love is a required ongoing investment. And so when she says love is better than wine, it is not only the reordering of priorities, but she's also showing us what kind of demand that love is going to take upon our life. It is going to require a great investment of time. Verse 3, watch this. Because of the savor of thy good ointments, thy name is as ointment poured forth. Therefore do the virgins love thee. I love this. I love the reference that we find here. The illustrations and examples that are embedded throughout the Song of Solomon give us some very vibrant illustrations on how to compare the expressions of love to things that are common and familiar to the audience that's listening in. In this case, when she talks about the savor of thy good ointments, that the name is associated or represented like a good ointment, what she is expressing is her feeling that she has just by hearing her lover's name. just hearing his name and even hearing his voice, it arouses certain senses in her, senses that bring her great comfort and satisfaction. There's an aroma that a good ointment has. And so, in comparison, the good name of her beloved is like a good ointment. It has a fragrance. A good name has a fragrance that provides healing, a fragrance that automatically brings forth comfort, satisfaction, as I said. A person's voice or mentioning their name can have an impact and an effect on the person on the receiving end. This is also true on the negative plane as well. You know, there are some people just hearing their name, let alone hearing their voice, that it creates some kind of anxiety. You know, it creates some kind of friction or stirs up something negative inside of us. It offsets everything that would be peaceful. So we know how true it is that a person's name, their vocal presence can have will have an impact on another person's. But in this positive sense, the ointment that is referenced is illustrated in a man or her beloved that has a good name. He has an assigned aroma that provides a fragrance that is better than wine. So again, the love that's better than wine, the reputation is a fragrance that is desired by many women. These are characteristics of love that the female voice represents, are important to her. These are the things that allows her to lower her guard when she comes into the presence of her beloved. These are the things that settle her, that allow her to open herself up to her beloved. Let's take a look at verse 4. Draw me, we will run after thee. The king hath brought me into his chamber. We will be glad and rejoice in thee. We will remember thy love more than wine. The upright love thee. The discovery of love is going to eventually lead to courtship. So we see this is what is being prepared, the opportunity to start to develop the extended relationship beyond friendship, to begin to explore what happens after the first kiss. But as we set up for that, we also have some clues that are provided in this in her conversation in this verse that tell us something about her physical location. When she says that she's calling to her lover, to her beloved, if you will, to draw her out, to draw her away from where she is, and she will come running after him. This is where we discover her physical environment. She is a member of the king's chamber. The king's chamber is where all of the wives and or concubines are kept. Now, side note, we have scriptural reference of the bio data that tell us that Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. It's a total of 1,000 women that were a part of his harem or his household. And that's a lot of women for one man to deal with. But our story, our teaching lesson is not going to delve into the 1,000 women and begin to unravel what all that entails. Actually, what I want to offer is an understanding that based on what we have been able to research concerning the background of the timestamp for this writing, it is likely that the authorship of King Solomon took place in the earlier years while he served as king. He will rule over Israel for 40 years, and it's largely believed that his writings would have occurred in the first few years of his kingship. And with that being said, he didn't have 1,000 women right, from day one. This was an accumulation over the 40 years. But nonetheless, there was definitely more than one woman in the harem. So what we want to focus on is that this woman has been singled out. That's what's important here. And we'll see how this fully unveils itself in the following verses. But right now, she is responding as one woman among many. And she, in her response, she requests to be drawn out, to be called out of the harem. So, and she tells her beloved that she will run to chase, to follow after him. This is where we will begin to initiate what I'm referring to as the courtship, the chasing and the being chased. But it won't begin until the king, watch this, calls her out. That's what is being revealed here. Her location and the need for the king to call her out. Here's another opportunity for us to insert how this applies to our horizontal relationship with God. It is God who represents the king in this scenario, who will come and call us out of our place of captivity. The harem was a place of isolation, of separation, even of captivity to a certain extent. The women that were taken into custody there were not free to move on their own. They were under the assignment of a chamberlain, one who had oversight over all of the women in the harem, keeping them reserved and set apart to make them available as virgins to the king. But they did not have their own personal freedom. In the same way, you and I, we are born into a world of sin, shapen into iniquity. We are born into our own isolation, place of captivity. And it requires God as king to come and call us out. Watch this. Select us, one from among many. That's what she was looking for. That's what you and I are thankful for, that God called us out one at a time, one from among many. He could see us. Wow, that's going to be powerfully important here as we continue to navigate through these scriptures. He could see us. He could see us individually, and he calls us out. The only way she will get out of that harem to become his choice selected one for relationship, is if he as king brings her out, calls her out. The same is true for you and I. The only way we get out of what traps us and snares us into our own personal captivity is God as king comes and calls us out. So she expresses her joy in being selected and makes it clear that if she is chosen, she will run, as would any woman in that harem, would run to follow after him. She declares that upright love. She declares that she is the upright. Watch this. I want to review that. We will remember thy love more than wine. The upright upright love thee. She makes that reference again to love being more important than wine, more memorable than wine. She declares that the upright love thee. That interpretation is expressed or explained as one who has balance, one who is on the even plateau in equal pursuit of the other person. What she wants is the even opportunity to be on the same plane to receive her beloved and for her beloved to receive her. She declares the upright love him, talking about herself, her love for her beloved. She's coming balanced, wants to meet him on the same level pursuit. So she's not just wanting him to chase after her. She is showing her desire to chase after him. The chase indicates that both persons in love desire to discover all they can know about one another. Verse 5 and 6. I am black but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun hath looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of vineyards, but my own vineyard have I not kept. There's a lot that's packed in here, but I want to begin with this. This is significant. This is a personal announcement that describes her physical characteristics. She says that she is black. Now, in the English translation here, the King James version, or perhaps many of your other translations, they imply that as she's making this description, she says, I am black but comely, inferring that she's qualifying her blackness, that she's trying to explain, although she's black, she is still comely. That's not how that verse should be understood, let alone read. In the original context, the original verbiage, the scripture would read like this: she is black and beautiful. That's what the word comely means, beautiful. She is black and beautiful. She's a black woman, not trying to explain away why she's black. She's clarifying, identifying her blackness and her beauty. She's not trying to qualify her blackness. She is expressing and describing her characteristics as black and beautiful. So I want to give that shout out, especially to our black and beautiful women, to understand there is no need to qualify or to have to put in parentheses to explain why you are just as, or why you are beautiful in comparison to. No, you are black and beautiful. That's what the scripture represents here. This is also important. This is significant. Why does she call out her blackness? And I know some may be, a little uncomfortable with this emphasis that we're bringing out concerning black love, black relationships, but we're simply unveiling what we have naturally here in the scripture context. But there's a reason. Watch this. She is identifying her black features and characteristics because she stands out conspicuously among all the daughters in Jerusalem. Note what she says, that she is black, she's beautiful, O ye daughters of Jerusalem. She is identifying that she stands out in the midst of all the other daughters of Jerusalem, because she alone is black and beautiful. I want you to catch that. She is the only black beauty in the harem. Watch this. She connects her conspicuous nature to the tents of Kedar. The tents of Kedar, the reference to Kedar is a reference to the son of Ishmael. Ishmael is the oldest son of Abraham. Abraham had a son with the woman Hagar. Go back to Genesis chapter 16 and 15. You'll recall and review that that encounter that Abraham, or he was Abram at the time, had with Hagar. Abram and Sarah were promised to have a son in their old age. They did not see that come to fruition in their timetable. So Abram's wife Sarah strongly suggested and pushed Abram to have a child with Hagar, her handmaiden, in order to produce a son. Abram did just that. He had a son with Hagar. That son's name was Ishmael. Now, part of that story also shows us that once Isaac was born, Ishmael became a challenge. And so he put out Hagar and the eldest son, Ishmael, and it was God that provided for them in their death hour in the wilderness. He made a way, made provision for them to rescue and save them. That's important because Ishmael will go on to become a great man in his own rights. He was not the son of promise, but he was the eldest son of Abraham. He is still attached to the Abrahamic family. With that being said, his son, Kedar, was noted as having tents that were conspicuous, tents that could easily be identified and noticed, either by their structure or their color. What the female voice says here is her black beauty is conspicuous. It's identifiable. It is obviously seen, just like those who could see the tents of Kedar. We also know that as she goes on, she says that she is like, watch this, the curtains of Solomon. I love this part. Watch this. As the curtains of Solomon. What she is also suggesting is that Solomon is different and distinctive from all other men, from all other people in Jerusalem. Watch this, from all other kings that have ever sat on the throne, because he is Ethiopian. He is a black man, and she is a black woman. So she wants him to know she stands out in the same manner that he stands out. And that they have in common. The woman of Solomon's pursuit stood out among all the others because her color was distinct. The reference was also intended to show her likeness to Solomon because her skin tone was like his own. So this distinction, visually, physically, would make them a perfect match for each other. But I want you to embrace what verse 6 says. She says, but I don't want you just looking at my blackness only. Look not upon me because I am black. Don't choose me and select me because I am black. I want you to see that we are the same, that we have something in common. But she compels her lover not to look at her only because of their likeness in skin color. She affirms their physical identity being the same, but explains that her childhood and the son's proximity in her environment made her that way. In this way, she also begins to reveal some of her ancestry. Watch this. She's opening up. Why? Because she feels comfortable with him, with the man's voice that is like a soothing fragrance. She is opening up to him because she feels safe. She feels content. Watch this. She begins to share her offensive past, what her family has done to harm her, making her subject to work in their vineyards while her own was unattended. These were members of her family. Watch this. She called them her mother's children, identifying them as her siblings that caused her this suffering. This was not unusual for relatives and family members to be on the offensive end of those who had encountered suffering circumstances. We kind of saw some examples of that already in our pre-stories with Jacob and his family as he was working overtime in order to gain the hand of Rachel in marriage. The encounter referenced in her past, it allowed her background to be revealed to her beloved so that he could understand her journey. He would be aware of what had brought her even this close to where she is in proximity to him. She wants him to know her whole story. She wants him to know her as a whole person, not just seeing her for her blackness, but knowing her for who she is on the inside. This is what's important in relationship, not just what a person can connect with visually or physically, but you need to be able to embrace and understand everything that represents that person. Their entire life is a combination of what they are on the outside and who they are on the inside. The past experience is going to impact her in relationship. In some way, every person's past will inform how they respond to matters they must address in the present. There's no person that is not affected by their past victories as well as their past defeats. In relationship, this is important. So this is another tool for us to make reference to in this in the examples and illustrations provided in this love story between King Solomon and the woman that captured his heart. We must take time in courtship, in that chase one after the other, to understand and to learn what each of us has come through, what we have left behind, and how what we have left behind still has an impact on who we are today. One of the great challenges in any relationship is when the past that has been unknown to the other person in the relationship finds its way into their present moments. And when it's unknown and unexpected, it can create a great hindrance. So what she wants her beloved to do is to embrace her, not for just being black, but he wants her to understand her whole story. Verse 7. Acting upon the instinct and desire for the chase, she inquires about the location of his flock. where they will rest at noonday. She sets her focus on pursuing him because she doesn't want to chase after anyone else. So she says to him, she wants to know where his flock is located, where they are going to water at noonday, so that she doesn't have to be overwhelmed with chasing after anyone else. Or, as it is put in scripture, why should she be as one that turneth aside by the flocks of his companions? She's not looking for love somewhere else. She's found her focal point. So now she wants to know, where is his flock? Now, I know this is, it would be hard to find a place for this conversation in our present day love relationships, but let me just explain the cultural background to this expression as we wrap up this segment. In the culture represented in that day, offering service to water the herd was a gesture women would use to demonstrate their interest and their availability to a potential pursuer. We see that example actually represented in one of our precursor illustrations with Rebecca, who responded in that way to the bondservant of Abraham when he came to find her in the arranged marriage between Rebecca and Isaac. She responded to the bondservant by watering the camels and providing water for him as well. That was kind of a fleece that the bondservant had put out there to say to God, help me accelerate this process by bringing the woman forward who will offer me and the animals water. So this was a known gesture in that day. The way we can make it practical in our present environment is a gesture where a woman is willing to prove herself in the manner of which she wants to support the destiny and the destination of the man that she wants to pursue, where she shows herself as being, watch this, as being not only interested, but fully available for the man that she wants to live out the rest of her life with. We'll see later where the man's commitment is going to balance this out as well. But in this part of the conversation, we are amplifying the woman's gesture to say to her beloved, she wants him to be clear she has no interest in any other man, that she is interested in him and him only, and that she is making herself available, fully available to him. This is the opening song that is spoken and delivered by the female voice who is in love with the great King Solomon.